everyone. Welcome to Commander's Pod. My name's Duncan. I'm joined by Jeff and Sloan.
Howdy, partners.
What's up?
And today we're going to talk about several subjects. We're going to talk about what we think of Thunder Junction. Outlaws of Thunder Junction's been out. Officially, it released yesterday for us when we're recording this. By the time you hear it, it'll have been out a week. Pre-release was last week for us. It'll be 2 weeks for you.
Should we warn people at the top that we may be using country slang throughout this and that Johnny has promised to do that throughout the whole episode to annoy us?
Yes, country slang
I mean,
partner.
I think Sloan
Western
is
slang.
going to be using slang. But
Wow.
we also, I wanted to give a shout out to Oliver. Oliver reached out to us on the web with a story in response to our Teferi's Protection speech talk. He had a great Teferi's Protection story we're going to use as our Tales from the Table. Jeff, you want to give that a read?
Yeah, my boy Oliver. This is a pretty cool story. So he's got in here, player A casts Armageddon. So gonna destroy all the lands. Super fun person that guy must be. Another player casts Heroic Intervention to protect himself. Then another player casts Teferi's Protection to protect himself. And then another player casts Akroma's Will to protect himself. But my boy Oliver is left all alone, having all of his lands destroyed and blown away.
Player
Wow.
A.
Great story.
Player A
Great
killed himself. What
Yeah.
a way to go. That is cool. Thank you, Oliver.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, I mean, that's just one of the many things that can happen with Teferi's Protection. You know, the
Well,
joys
and
of-
all those other ones.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of protection spells they got out there just waiting for that moment.
I think that dabs in every color too, right? Because Heroes Intervention's green, Fairy's Protection's white, and the other one,
red is it red?
I thought it
No,
was
it's
blue.
white. It's white too.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's white
Chroma's-
too. Yeah. So, but very interesting, cool story for sure. Definitely a lot of fun there, and thank you, Oliver, for reaching out and sending us your story. We appreciate the interaction. And anyone else, again, if you have other stories, we'll be more than happy to read them out, either on a topic that we're talking about today or from a previous episode that we recorded. Feel free to send them to us, and we'll definitely try to get them in the episodes and read them out for you guys.
And as it turns out, we have listeners.
It
so
does.
please subscribe. It'd be great if you'd subscribe.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, please.
And
so you
let
don't
other
miss an
people
episode.
know you like it too, because that'll help us.
What'd
Yeah.
you say?
Let other people know that you're listening and that you like
Sure,
it.
absolutely.
You know, I always like to know when somebody finds a cool podcast. I have several that I started listening to because somebody else.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're okay if you just tell them there's a podcast.
Yeah. Just
Let's
let them know
not-
we
Let's not
exist.
set the bar too
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, so Oliver also asked about our Patreon. We are actually in the process of getting that set up. By the time you hear this, it should be set up. So go ahead and check us out on Patreon. We're calling it The War Room is our tentative name for that. So that's what you can look for. Commander's Pod, The War Room. And we look forward to interacting with you guys some more.
Yeah,
Yep.
that'll just help us keep this thing going because, you know, it does cost money to do all this.
Yeah,
so
and also he
we'd
did
appreciate
ask
the help.
about a Discord, so we're gonna try to get a Discord server set up by next week as well. And if you don't want to do the emailing or anything like that, the Discord will have some places set up for you to drop stories in there. Tell us about your decks that you have and let us know what you like to do and build. And we're gonna have a couple different chats set up for that too.
Right. And that will be available to all levels of Patreon support.
Correct.
So.
Very
um,
cool.
But so something we weren't planning on doing, and just in the past couple days, we were just decided we wanted to talk about this. 2 days ago, there were some leaks, not spoilers. These were not official releases, but spoilers, leaks for Modern Horizons 3.
Yes.
We got 4 planeswalkers,
Yes, we did.
and I think they're pretty spicy, personally, because they're actually legendary creatures that flip into planeswalkers.
Right. I definitely think that they're interesting, to say the least. And I think the most interesting part is the reason why you think they're spicy, which is their cost and
Yep.
how they flip.
Super low cost. Now, just for clarity, Magic did spoil a Johnny, who is also a legendary creature that's going to flip into a planeswalker. And they, you want to read that one for us, Sloan?
Yeah. So he's 1 and a white, legendary creature, cat warrior. He's a 1/2. Whenever a Johnny Noctul Pariah enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. And then whenever one or more other cats you control die, you may exile a Johnny, then return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. So with white, is all you got to do is, as it says there, whenever they die, one other cat, that's it, just one dies, you get to flip him. So then he comes back as a planeswalker with +2. Put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. So this, I think they're going with the cat tribal theme based off of this. His 0 is create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. When you do, if you control a red permanent other than a Johnny Nictol Avenger, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. So again, just one other red permanent besides himself, because when he flips, he is red and white. Then boom, you get to deal a bunch of damage just by cost you nothing, literally a 0.
Yep.
So, and then the last one, -4. Each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest.
Nice
So
little board wipe there.
yeah, so he comes flipped over as a 3. So basically, if you have some way to give him extra extra counters when he flips over, you can literally ult the moment he flips over if you wanted to.
So I think the interesting thing that this Planeswalker, which is probably why they released him, it's a great example of, I think, what they're trying to do. So Planeswalkers are not actually all that popular in Commander. Like, people love them, but they're not really that effective in Commander
Anymore, yeah.
So when Wizards is designing things, it takes them years to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, we're like, well, why isn't this come out? Why haven't they done this? Why haven't they made this change? Well, they may have, but it takes time for that to work through and actually come out to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really exciting about these Planeswalkers are, most Planeswalkers, if you're going to play them, you play a Planeswalker stack, right? Because you want to get to the ultimate. And really, that's the way you play a Planeswalker a lot of times. Or you could just have enough of them where you have value, but you're built around that theme. These, I think, are the first Planeswalkers that are extremely effective in a deck type as a support card. And like, putting this in a cat deck, great, fits perfect, works really well. I'll tell you, in my Dragons deck, I have the Planeswalkers that, quote unquote, work in a Dragons deck. They're terrible. Anytime they're in my hand, I don't cast. I never cast them. I just have them in the deck because it seems like they should go there. But these are actually playable.
Yeah,
right. I would argue that I'm going to build some as commanders.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
because they
Okay,
are
yeah,
legendary creatures
yeah.
on the front side, so you can do that. You have
Absolutely.
that option. And again, like, the big thing that I think is definitely interesting with these is going to be the mana value on them. So
just to be clear, Johnny was the one that Wizards officially spoiled ahead of time.
correct.
These other 4 were not spoiled by Wizards. These were leaked. So we don't know 100% these are real, but everything points to these are real cards. So let's talk about the first one, which is Tameo. You want to read the legendary side of Tameo?
Yeah, so 1 blue. So
Wow.
like I said, 1 blue.
Nice. Like it so
So
far.
if you're gonna build her as a commander, you can turn 1 dropper. It's a Moonfolk wizard. It's a 0/3 with flying. When she attacks, investigate. And then when you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile her, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. So the other side of her, the Planeswalker side.
Well, let's talk about this side first, because
Right.
let's talk about this, and then we'll move on to Planeswalker
Right.
side. So right away, she has built into her how you get there. She investigates.
Right.
You can attack. She has flying. You
Yeah,
can attack
and
over somebody who doesn't have any
with
flying
investigate,
creatures.
just so everyone understands, you create a clue token. It's an artifact with pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card.
Right. So she has the draw engine in her, right?
Yep.
So you can create clues, draw that way. She's a 0. You're not going to get anybody super upset for swinging at them with a 0. My first thing I think of, though, draw 3 cards, I think Brainstorm.
Right.
So to me, for a single blue to cast her and a single blue for Brainstorm, you flip her.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah, but the other way is you just stick her in well, this is a Moonfolk.
yeah, Moonfolk.
That's kind of cool.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you stick her in a deck where you don't mind attacking and where you have draw card triggers, and then she just fits in really nicely there.
She does, but I'm
and
just
she'll
saying
go off possibly the first time she attacks.
it's possible. But I'm saying with Brainstorm, you can just flip her without ever attacking. You
Yeah.
don't have to wait for something.
Because technically, Brainstorm does read, pay 1 blue, draw 3 cards, and then put 2 cards from your hand back on top of
So in a
your...
draw go deck. So she's going to be amazing in a draw go deck.
Right now, her Planeswalker side does appear to be blue and green.
Okay, so let's talk about that now, because we've talked about her. We've talked about how to flip her.
Yeah, so her Planeswalker side is called Tameo Seasoned Scholar. The front side is Inquisitive Student. So even there, I kind of like how they made the name progressive.
Well, so all of these seem to be these characters we know as Planeswalkers in their early life. Like they've been reborn, or it's their early life.
Before they made it to their Planeswalker status.
Which give Wizards props, man.
Yeah.
That is a cool idea.
Yeah, it is.
Like imagine these, they're just sitting back there thinking up these cool ideas and then creating cards for them. And we don't give them enough credit sometimes. That's a pretty cool idea.
It is a cool idea. And then they flip into their evolved self.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the name works. So Seasoned Scholar's the other side. And I think I'll let you read the -7, the big alt one, because I think that's the one you're super excited about.
Oh, yes, I am.
So the +2, until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or Planeswalker you control, it gets -1, -0 until end of turn. So it's a nice little defensive thing that you can do. Like, don't touch me. Let me get there.
And it's +2.
And it's a +2. They do. She does flip over with 2 loyalty counters, is what she starts with, just so you know. So that's the +2.
Unless you have doubling season. But
yeah, which again,
it's in green.
it's
and
in green,
could.
so it's very simple. Or any of the other hundreds of multipliers. That
so is
green
it
has.
whenever a creature? So if you attack with 21 ones,
They
they're
all get
they're all going to get
-1,
-1,
-0.
-0. So it might be easy to pass up just that. That actually can be a lot better than you might think.
Right, and I think the big reason why is because that +2, because she only comes over with 2 loyalty counters on the front, on her. So they're trying to give her a reason to keep plussing her. So then her -3, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, add 1 mana of any color.
I like that too.
Yeah, so
That's something I'm gonna want to do.
yeah,
Again, this fits. This is more of like that draw go deck.
right. And then Duncan, you can go ahead and take the big one.
So the -7, draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library rounded up. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size.
Yeah, so definitely draw and go deck style.
Yeah, draw a lot
for
and go.
sure.
And
But
well,
I
and-
mean, it's old. So, I
And
mean,
if you're playing that in that deck, someone might be like, "Oh, alts normally win the game. This doesn't win the game." If you have counter spells and interaction like you're gonna have in a draw go deck, that just won you the game.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
well,
over. Everybody scoop. You're
and
done.
one simple card, you do win the game, and that's Psychosis Crawler. Because now, let's
Mhm.
say you have 40 cards that you're drawing.
Mhm.
You've used 20 cards between what's in your hand, your lands, your what's on the table, and your graveyard. Leaves you 80. You draw half. That's 40. That's 40 damage to all opponents.
Yeah.
Game
Right.
over. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
will
but
say,
even
too,
without that, I think it's probably game over.
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what deck this of mine person Calamax. He's blue, green, red. Yeah, imagine if I get to draw half my cards from my library with my Calamax deck, which is
yeah.
a spell slinger deck. Yeah, I'm going to win. There's no stopping me because
Mhm.
there's counters in there. There's direct damage.
and it
there's-
fits into all these decks because it's one blue.
Right. So I think they did. I think, like you said, like I'm definitely giving them props. One, the names are cool. They kind of make sense. Like you said, it's like them in their earlier stages. And then once you flip them over, it's them when they're in their Planeswalker status, as it were, leveled up or powered up, however you kind of want to look at it. The abilities on the first 2 are cool. They're on theme. Like Jeff said, they're usable in decks now. Like you can kind of get value out of these Planeswalkers. And the other cool thing is too, when they die, they're going to go into your graveyard as a creature. So if you have creature recursion, you can get your Planeswalkers back a lot easier too, which is kind of cool.
Now, Duncan, on this, because you're the guy that typically knows the rules a little bit better, certainly, than I do. If you draw 3 cards on someone else's turn,
Mhm.
when it flips, the Planeswalker is not entering. So normally, if a Planeswalker enters at flash speed, you get to use its ability.
Well, I
right?
think
Well,
it does enter because it says it exiles it.
So
Well,
if it
that's
exiles and
correct, but
enters, then you should be able to
you
use
don't
its ability.
actually get to use it at flash speed. What you get to do is use it without interaction, and there's a difference there. It's still at sorcery speed. It's a weird rule that Wizards has.
But you're getting to use a
But you're
Planeswalker
getting to use
ability.
it. If you flip it on somebody else's turn, you do not get to use it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
cannot plus it on somebody else's turn, even if you flipped it that.
So that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So
It
you
is
gotta make sure
exiling,
you do it
though,
on your
technically.
turn. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Tameo. Pretty cool one. Jeff, this one you might be interested because you're the one that
You
has
talking about
a-
Soren?
Yeah, you're the one with the vampire deck.
You want to read this?
Yeah.
So what caught me off guard here was the fact that it's a human noble, but that goes back to what Duncan was talking about, is that this is before he was a vampire, which I just think is so cool.
Well, if you
Yeah.
look at the picture, it actually looks like he's a kid.
Yeah, it's awesome. But Soren of House Markov, legendary creature, human noble, lifelink, extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you may pay white or black. If you do, each permanent,
Each opponent.
each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. So with extort, he's going to have the ability to flip himself coming up. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile Soren of House Markov, then return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control.
And
So
he only
with
costs
extort,
one and a black.
Yeah,
One and a
one
black, yeah.
and he's a 1/4. And the thing is with the extort mechanic, because it's technically it hits each opponent, then you gain that much life on your first turn. The turn you drop him out, if you just cast one other spell and pay 1, you have 3 opponents. He's flipping.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so they're,
Again, you don't need to wait for summoning sickness.
yeah,
to
you
wear
don't need to
off.
do
You're
any of that nonsense. There's no. It's just straight up. You gain 3 life and more this turn. Boom, exile him, flip him over.
He keeps, when he flips, he keeps extort. He becomes Soren, ravenous. What does it say?
Neonate.
Neonate.
Super fun to pronounce that. Yeah.
Reading's hard. It is.
Yeah, words are hard. So +2, create a food token, which, don't ignore that. Food tokens can be pretty good.
And again, it's a +2. It's getting him up there in loyalty counters.
Yeah.
He
quick.
comes with the 3 loyalty, by the way, just so everyone.
And then his next one is he deals damage equal to the amount of life you gained this turn to any target. So
for
you're
a
going to deal.
measly -1.
Yeah. So that can be pretty good, especially in a life gain deck. Or, vampire decks also gain life. So
Yeah, most vampires have lifelink, and that's kind of one of their shticks is their
Well,
lifelink.
I think this is the real ult, the one you just read. But go ahead and read the quote.
the
ult.
-6 gain control target creature, it becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than the creature.
Or
Sorry, this is hard to
Soren.
read.
Other
here.
than
It's
that
all
creature or
blurry.
If you
Soren.
scroll down a little bit, it actually written out for you.
No,
That's
that
why
would
I
be
sent you
easier.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I see
But
it right
but
there.
I mean, Hooked on Phonics is something that maybe the Patreon supporters can help us get for Jeff.
Yeah, it would be good. Yeah, but they're very blurry in these things. So I'm glad they
that's
wrote
why
it down here.
again it's written down below. Sorry about that. But so the -6, meh, I'm never going to use that. But the -1, oh my word. There are decks that there are cards,
I don't-
multiple cards that literally say double your life total.
I think you're wrong because in a
Oh,
vampire.
no, I'm not wrong. There are cards that say that.
But yes, but in a vampire deck, you have other cards that steal creatures and turn them into vampires. It's very much on theme.
Oh, sure, it's on
so
theme. I just don't care about
If
it.
you get to
Right.
6 and you steal something pretty impressive and it becomes a vampire, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, and
I'd
if-
rather kill somebody with my -1.
Wow, if you can.
Well, and
yeah.
I will say too,
This gives you
is
options.
the food tokens I believe are what pay 2, sacrifice it, gain 3 life. I believe is
Yep.
what they do. So there's with your plus, you get a food token. And if you have any of those combos that we talked about a couple episodes ago, where you can increase what amount of tokens that are being created, you could get out a couple food tokens and a couple other things, and your board state goes from just by using the +2 ability, you get multiple things.
Oh, I mean,
out
I
and
think
you
this
gain
deck would
life
go
and-
perfectly in the Hobbit food token deck.
Yeah, white. He's white black, so he's black mono black on the one side, and we flip him over white black on his legendary planeswalker side. So I definitely think again very on theme, very cool.
But going back to my point
Planeswalker.
about that middle ability, there are cards that say double your life. You -1 and kill somebody.
Well, but this is the point of the deck. So the point of these cards are what deck is it going to support? If you put it in a life gain deck, 100%. You put in a vampire deck, you might go either way because in a vampire deck, sometimes you're getting the cards that are gaining your life, sometimes you're not. So if you're not getting those cards into your hand, well, yeah, you're probably going for the -6 because you want to, especially if there's a juicy creature out there to grab. So it just depends on what deck you put it in, and that's what's really cool about it. And I don't know if we have time to. Do we have time to read both the next cards, or should we just talk about sort of in general
we have
what
time
they
to
do?
read it. We'll just
Okay.
Go a little
let's
quicker.
move
But
a little bit.
Yeah,
but
the big thing is it is life gain. So technically, if you double your life total with certain
you could
cards,
kill somebody.
So, so the next one, probably a little bit more up my recent alley because of my spell slinger mindset. But Ral, Monsoon Mage. So he's a legendary creature. He's red, 1 in a red, and he has instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Fantastic.
I love it.
Love it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. Love it. I'm a huge coin flipper. Give me all the coin flipping. If you lose the flip, Monsoon Mage deals 1 damage to you.
You also enjoy damaging yourself.
100%. This is 100% up my alley so far. If you win the flip, you may exile Ral. If you do, return it to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. So my deck that is affectionately known as a Flippy coin deck, this guy would go great in. He's blue-red, and all he cares about is coin flips and slinging spells. Then his Planeswalker ability, which he then transformed into Ral Leyline Prodigy. He has, whenever he enters the battlefield with additional loyalty counters on him for each instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn.
Which, if you chain by holding priority 3 or 4 instants, you're going to flip him more than likely. You're going to get 4 opportunities.
Yep.
He's going to flip, and then when he flips over, you're going to get 4 additional loyalty.
Yeah.
Two
What's the spells that for as many spells you cast before this spell?
Oh, the copy one?
Yeah.
There's one that is
Storm, you're talking
Storm. Yeah. So if you cast just like one Storm at the end of a couple spells, you're definitely going to get there pretty easy.
Well,
There's tons of options.
Unfortunately, Storm doesn't count as casting because you're just copying the spells.
Yeah.
This specifically says you have to cast it. That's one of the first
Although
things I
that
thought
would
of
be
too.
super gross too. Do 3 instants and then the 4th instant has Storm.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything for him, but boy, is your table not going to be happy with you.
Right. So +1 until your next turn. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. Love it.
Yep.
-2. Ral deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control blue permanent other than Ral.
I mean, that might as well say -2 draw a card. I'd take that.
Yeah, -2
I don't
draw a
care
card.
about
I
2
mean,
damage, but it may come in handy,
you never know. Maybe ping someone's
especially with the red god from.
Well, and there's
the
enough
recent set.
creatures out there that are one
toughness
yeah.
or 2 toughness.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
So.
And then -8. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instants and sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost. Fantastic.
Love it.
So he has 2 loyalty counters, and then he gets an additional loyalty counter for every instant or sorcery you've cast this turn. So I don't want to be that guy, but
you already are.
I think
that.
you do.
Calimax and my coin flip deck are all about slinging spells. So I sling 2, 3, 4 spells, holding priority with instant, get him to flip over. He comes already with 6. He would be 6 when he flips over. A lot easier to get to 8 when you start from 6 as opposed to 2.
This is why you need single target removal. So if you're just playing board wipes, this is exactly why you need single target removal.
That can be a problem.
Absolutely.
But so, okay, now let's go to the last one.
So I don't think any of us are really hard into green black.
No,
that's what this last
I have a
one
couple
is.
decks, but-
I have one deck that's green black. So this I think for our play group, not as interesting because most of us don't really play this.
But still
style.
as
Very good.
disgusting as the others, in my opinion.
So very interesting because the front side grist voracious larva, literally a bug, and then he's gonna flip over into his planeswalker side, which we'll get to in a second. But he's an insect. Death touch.
Single green mana.
Single green. So 1 drop, 1/2.
So on curve, he's coming out and he's protecting you. With a death touch.
Whenever Gris, the larva, or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay green. If you do, exile him and then return that to the battlefield transform. So any kind of grave recursion whatsoever, you got him.
Yeah, I mean, green black have plenty of ways to abuse that.
Absolutely.
Get him flipped quick.
Absolutely.
Very easy. Yep.
So he flips over into the plague swarm. So he goes from a little baby larva into an entire swarm of a plague. Pretty cool. Again, concept with transformation there. Flips over with 3 loyalty counters and +1 ability. Create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token. Then mill 2 cards. Put a death touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way.
That might be the best plus out of all of them.
So yeah, so far that we've seen, if these are real, of course, disclaimer. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Great. That is a great ability.
Yeah.
Talk about single target removal.
Yeah.
Artifacts and enchantments are probably two of the hardest things to single target remove because most people don't do that. They usually focus on creatures or other things. So
And then -6 is ridiculous.
for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect.
But you still get all the ETBs
Right.
or
Yeah.
death triggers
Right.
or the death
So,
touch or flying,
I
whatever
do want
they
to say
have.
one of the
Nuts.
cool things about this commander is they did some commanders that had the escape cost. Euro Jeff has a Euro deck that he built. I built the other Titan. That's the black red one that also has the escape.
Yeah.
This guy actually doesn't care if he goes to the graveyard because of his ability. We read it quick, but I just want to reemphasize it. So whenever he enters, whenever he or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from the graveyard, you can pay a green. So you can recur him and then pay the green on it to flip him immediately from your graveyard.
Self mill,
Yeah. So you can you can sack him, and then you can, if you recur him out,
animate dead.
animate dead, boom, I pay a green back there.
Yep,
Like,
so
so you can send
Once
this
you've
guy to
set
the
it up,
graveyard.
once you've milled them into your graveyard, you pay
Yeah.
1 green, 1 black, or sorry, reverse that. 1 black, 1 green, boom.
He's
So
flipped
we've
over.
talked
He's
about
flipped.
how we collect before, right?
Yeah.
So I see this card and I go, okay, I don't really have a graveyard deck. I have an aristocrats deck.
Right. So sacking.
I will be buying this card, and I will be creating a graveyard deck.
Yeah,
and again,
no,
the cool thing is, if
certainly
this is
should.
a real card, a legendary, he
And I
can
do
be your
want-
commander for 1 green.
Maybe that's the way to go. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll have to look because there's so many great graveyard commanders, but maybe that is the way I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So I
think
wonder if these might be the commanders of the precons.
that would be cool.
Actually, you know what? I don't think I would do that because I actually want to put them in the graveyard. So I don't want them in my command zone.
But that's the thing, you don't care.
Well,
Like, because you want him to go to the graveyard, it makes it great because even if someone single target removes you, great. I recur him, I pay it.
My
boom, he's
point
flipped
is,
over.
I want to mill him to my graveyard and then play him from my graveyard and
Right.
instantly use him to become a planeswalker.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely what I mean but and again in green black there's a lot of things to do to sacrifice a creature, draw a
Sure,
card,
sure.
sacrifice creature, get mana,
Yeah.
things like that. So I like the fact that you have this 1-drop commander you can put out on turn 1. Literally by turn 2, you could have a potential sack out, and you can just start doing
I mean, you could
shenanigans.
you could do it turn 1.
But so, we just wanted to talk about these because they were leaked. Like I
Yeah.
said, 2 days ago for us. It'll be
Yep.
a week after by the time you guys hear this. Hopefully, we've informed some people. But I just thought they were cool. Thought we should talk about them.
Definitely.
I think they're going to be a lot of fun, and they are making planeswalkers great again. I think they're
Yeah.
working towards that. They're making them cheap, making them affordable, making them do cool stuff.
Yeah, I think what Jeff said's probably the most accurate thing. Where planeswalkers are cool cards that just don't function well in decks, and I think Magic is trying to find a way to make them be viable for Commander.
Well, they
And I
just
think
did it.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
they figured
So-
it out.
So hopefully,
Bravo design team.
yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
all these are real, and hopefully we get to see these when this set drops. But yeah, we just looking at these two for the first time, like you guys who are hopefully hearing about them for the first time from us, or if you're not, you're getting our takes on them because definitely cool card concept, cool idea. I like the name of evolution of the cards. You see them in their infantile, and kind of their planeswalker state.
No, for sure. It's for sure. So now we're going to go to a section which I am starting to call Aggro Jeff. So I just think that kind of fits. So, Jeff, what's aggravating you today?
Well, what's aggravating me today? It's mind-boggling. I don't understand it. Walking your dog in a stroller. Okay? I don't understand this. I don't know what's going
Yep.
on. I don't know if I feel sorry for the dog or concerned for the people that live by this person that's walking their
Or
dog in a
concern for
stroller.
the person themselves.
This is, I mean, it's crazy. I saw someone this morning and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're walking their grandchild and a dog. Nope, it's a dog and a dog. So one of the dogs walking and the other dog's in the,
And what does
like,
that say about the other dog? Like, that definitely means there's a favorite
yeah,
dog.
or these dogs can't walk as far as this 80-year-old woman. So if a dog can't walk as far as you at 80 years old, that dog's not doing very well.
Yeah.
That dog's not
That
doing
dog's
very
on
well.
its way out.
But it's crazy. Do not walk your dogs in strollers. That is messed up.
Well, not to be that guy. I am the TV quote guy, so I'm going to quote Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson. If a dog's under 40 pounds, it's a cat, and if it's a cat, it's useless.
There you go.
If your
Ron
dog fits in a
Swanson.
stroller, it's not a dog.
But here's the thing: they don't just walk them; they take them into restaurants and
Oh
those
It's
my
things.
wild.
goodness.
Yeah. And okay. This is also the same path as I'm going to carry my dog in a purse. Stop it.
Right?
Stop it. Yeah.
Oh,
don't
man.
do it. It's not okay.
You're
not
not
okay.
Paris Hilton. Just stop.
Yeah. Well, even if you are, stop. Yeah, stop
Just stop
for
being
many
Paris
reasons.
Hilton.
Yeah.
please. Well, I think this might be the first time we all agree with Jeff because I'm 100%.
Well, no, we've all agreed with him before, but
In
this
the
is the first time
history
we've
of our
the,
relationships.
the
Yes.
ones that don't have to do with magic for sure. This is
Yeah.
the first one that we're
Yeah,
fully on board
and
with.
all the things that aggravate me aren't always going to be about magic. Matter of fact, they're rarely going to be because
And
we all
just-
live in the real world.
Just to be
so-
clear, why this is Jeff's segment and not Sloan or I's, it's because if we did it, we'd just be talking about Jeff every episode.
Oh
It's
wow!
true.
Ouch.
So,
Absolutely.
But anyway, so that's aggro Jeff. So now we're going to talk about that doesn't do what you think it does, right? These are things that you think you know how it works, but maybe some of you are a little confused. We've seen it happen in the field. People just are doing things a little wrong. So it's usually happened to us on a time or two.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about when you own an enchantment or an equipment on a creature
Mhm.
and somebody gains control of that creature.
Yeah.
What happens? So many times I see people then, oh, I control the creature. This thing gives it life link. I gain the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. If
Yep.
it has life link, you're gaining the person who owns that enchantment or that equipment that's giving it life link, the life link. No,
That's
if the
amazing.
creature has it, yes, you gain the life if you
Yep.
control it. But it's who controls the thing giving the ability.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think this is actually kind of pertinent too because Thunder Junction came out with a commander that's kind of based around enchanting other people's stuff.
Right.
So definitely think that there will be a lot more conversations had now that she's dropped.
Well, and I've seen people equip somebody else's creature with an enchantment that gives them lifelink. Somebody drops a 7/7 and somebody gives it lifelink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's brilliant because now every time it attacks, you're gaining 7 life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and
there-
if it attacks you, it's
If
just
you
even
can't
it
beat
out.
them, join them.
There's actually a commander that used this really well, called Slicer. Has double strike, haste. It's red. Let's see here.
Oh, this was the Transformers.
Transformer one. It's
Yeah.
4 and a red. But the cool thing is, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of Slicer until end of turn. If you do, untap Slicer, goad it, so it can't attack you, and it can't be sacrificed this turn if you don't convert it. So we won't
And-
talk about the other side, but the idea of this is,
You said it has lifelink.
did it have lifelink? Probably. I already forgot. No, double strike and haste.
Double
Okay.
strike and
But you
haste.
can give it, the idea is you put like swords on it, right?
Yeah.
So the ones that untap your lands, ones that make people discard stuff, just all kinds of equipment that does things for you. So you give them the creature, they have to attack with it. They can't attack you, and you're getting all this value.
Yeah.
And it's super,
Well,
and no
wow.
one sees it coming.
Have you built that deck? You should build that deck.
I haven't, because it's kind of gross.
Well, I want to see that gross.
Okay, well, fine. You won't want to after you play it the
Challenge
first time.
accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say too, because the cool thing about that one specifically is it says that you may do that at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. So you don't
Yep.
have to give them that creature. So
Right.
if it's down to you and the other person, because it does goad it, if it's only you and one other person, you give them that creature, they can hit you then, just so you know
Yeah,
how
if
the way
they
goad
don't have
works.
any other
Yeah,
options,
if they have no
they
other
can
options,
attack
goad
you.
allows them
It
to
must
attack you.
attack and won't attack you if able.
But just build it properly. Have something indestructible or have some fogs because it attacks you. You get all this. You will still get all the
Benefits,
benefits of
swords
it,
and
and then you'll get all the benefits on your turn. You'll probably still kill them with it
That's
if
true.
you
Yeah.
can survive the attack.
it'd be funny if you gave it like with equipment like double strike and lifelink, so when they hit you, it just evens out. It never does anything to you.
Well, it has double strike. So.
Yeah, it has double strike, I guess. Yeah, so you just give it lifelink. It never does any damage to you though.
So, but that's just a little thing some people may be doing wrong. Watch out for that. When they take your stuff, if it has enchantments or equipment, great. If that's going to give you a benefit like lifelink or untapping your lands or something like that, that's fantastic.
So on the double strike lifelink, if just quick question, if you're gonna hit someone and the double strike is 10 and then it's gonna do 10 again, if on the first 10 you're dead, is the lifelink gonna happen at the same time,
happens
or
the
do you
same time that I
die
believe
and then
damage is
gain
dealt.
life? Then you'd be dead. We should look that up. or do you not die because you
I'm
instantly
pretty
gain life?
sure this question has come up, and I'm struggling now to remember the answer. I believe that they are not simultaneous. Damage has to be dealt for the lifelink to
Right,
trigger,
and
so
then
you
lifelink.
die.
So you would die
because it checks to see if you're at 0 or below, so it can't save you.
Don't trust us on that because we haven't researched it, but that would be really hilarious
Yeah, I
if
believe,
someone
though,
thought
that's
it
how it
saved
works.
them and it didn't.
But so anyway, yeah, that's how those things work.
Yeah.
And now let's get into the main topic. I know it seems like the leaks were kind of another main topic, but this one's about how we felt about Thunder Junction. It's now, like I said, it's been released for 2 days here. Yesterday was the first day, and now today.
Yeah.
Pre-release was last week for
Yeah.
us. This will come out a week after this. But so, what did you guys feel about the set? What was your overall feeling?
There's
Sloan?
some mighty fine cards there, partner. I definitely think that a lot of the
That was terrible.
Get out of here. Listen, I'm your Huckleberry. I definitely think a lot of the
You're so drunk,
great.
you probably see 2 of me.
You betcha. One gun for each of you. I'm just gonna keep quoting stuff. Stop. I can't. I gotta actually talk about Magic. So I liked a lot of the mechanics that they added. I think plot was cool. I think spree was cool. I also like the saddle mechanic because of the fact that it was still a creature that can attack, and if it's saddled, it gets an additional benefit. So I think those mechanics were cool. They were pretty on theme too. They did a good job of making sure it felt cohesive with the set and what they were trying to do. Overall, I think it was a good set. I don't think it was the best set that we've seen, and but I think thus far, especially with the last couple of sets that came out, this one was definitely better than those. I think overall. So overall, I like the set. I like the spree mechanic, the plot mechanic, and the saddle mechanic. I thought were all good additions. And I think they'd be
what
cool.
about you, Jeff?
I mean, I like the spree. I think I like plot. We'll have to see how it plays out. I was really excited about it, and then I was a little underwhelmed. So I don't think I was excited
Well, now you know
as
how your
you
wife
guys. I
feels.
actually bought it and then canceled it. So I was real close
Yeah.
to I
I
had
remember that.
I had 2 collector's boxes in my ready to buy, and then I was like, no, and as because it's always tough as a commander player when it's a standard set.
Yeah.
So I think as a standard set, it did really well for commander, which I don't know how standard players feel about that. But the spree mechanic is probably the most useful mechanic that came out, and I think the cards are pretty
Well,
good.
what's you're saying, well, they had a lot of good stuff for Commander. I don't know how standard. Every set that they come out with now has Commander cards.
Yeah,
in
I
it.
just don't know how
And
healthy that is.
specifically designed for Commander. I swear.
Yeah,
Whether they agree to that or not, whether they admit to it or not.
yeah.
But you were underwhelmed. Sloan, you liked it. I really liked it for a standard set. I thought this was solid.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
mean,
that.
yeah, I'll let you finish.
I just think, like Sloan, I like the mechanics. I thought the commit a crime, I was underwhelmed by it when it came out, and I really haven't seen it be relevant.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody get excited about that one, but the spree and the plot, I love plot. You give me any way to cast spells for free, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you little slave, freaking stupid free cast
I mean,
slinger.
Yeah.
That's a bit like girl math, though. It's not free. You're paying for it.
You pay for it a turn before, but it's a cheaper cost, and
Yeah.
you do have to cast it at sorcery speed per the mechanic.
Well, like I have built Anti-Flash, but I'm going to build Kellen the Kid. Kellen
Yeah.
the Kid says when you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a spell of equal or lesser value from your hand for free.
Now, Duncan,
Right.
there's
So
no
that
way
card would be free.
there's no way they put that card in the best colors to cast stuff from anywhere but your hand.
Oh, really? You think so?
There's no way they did that. That'd be silly.
You don't think they did that? So do you think that it's loading?
Do you think that it's loading?
Green,
Yes, I do.
white, and blue are good colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah,
but my point is, I'll spend a turn setting it up, right? I'll plot it.
Yeah.
There it is. Maybe I'll plot a couple things. My next turn, cast a spell for free. Now I cast a spell from my hand. What if that spell has Cascade? You know what happens? I cast that spell from my hand for free. Now I get Cascade from the top of my library for free.
And then
Yeah.
you hit one that says discover, you get to do it again.
Right.
No doubt.
I
I
just
mean-
think Duncan likes words that make it so he gets to do a bunch of things all at once.
I want to do a bunch of things and I don't want to pay for any of it. Is that so
yeah,
wrong?
and I would read his ability specifically because I think the cool thing about his ability is the
So
way it
he
works
has
with
flying and
plot,
lifelink, so bonus.
right? And he's a what?
3/3.
3/3. That's right.
And he costs a single green, white, and blue. So 3 mana. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or less mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost.
Right. So that's the key thing I wanted you to say. You want to know why? Because plot is very cheap compared to a lot of the actual CMCs. It sees the CMC of it, not the plot. So you can
Yes.
plot something for 2 mana and its CMC is 4. So you're netting 2 mana on top of the 4 you're about to cast.
But you're casting it.
Right.
Sorcery
And if
speed.
you don't
True.
cast a spell for free from your hand, you may play a land.
Yeah, so it's double value. It's very much like who was the other guy? I think you built a deck. He was 2 green, white, blue. Chun Li, I think he was, and he did something very
for the
similar.
$25 deck challenge we did.
Yeah, that
and-
was fun.
Yeah, you get to like
For the
cast
video we
things
never
and-
released.
Yeah.
So, but I liked him a lot. He was someone I really was thinking about building myself. I just knew that a lot of people were going to build him though because he was so popular.
Oh, he's so cool. I'm just very
He is
excited.
and he has a wanted poster card too. Which if you don't play that version, I won't play you.
Oh, I've got that version.
Okay, good. That's
So-
good. That's the one you need to play because it's a sick.
So
art.
is that are those your favorite cards basically
I
too?
have so many favorite cards.
I would
like I said, I built Annie Flash first, just because I had pulled that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got Kellen after. I like Annie Flash by herself, isn't that great? But Annie Flash, there's a card called Annie Joins Up in the exact same colors. Annie Joins Up says when this card enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target opponent or planeswalker an opponent controls. If a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. This again is in green, red, and white, right?
Yeah.
So I immediately think, oh, what else is white? Oh, Elish Norn that doubles triggers.
Yeah. So you get to.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's
and
have
what's his-
Panharmonicon in there.
Yeah, and
let's
what's
do
his
that.
face? The god Obeka, whatever his name is, the white
Yeah, and
legendary god thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you've already built a couple of decks. I'm actually looking into building Obeka Splitter of Seconds. She's one blue, red, black, and she's the one that she has menace. She's a 2/4. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you get to have that many additional upkeeps. So basically, you kind of stack her up. It's a little Voltron-y because you want to do a lot of damage with her, and then you have a bunch of things in there that are going to trigger off of upkeep things. So like all the courts that are out there that do at the beginning of your upkeep, you know, do XXXX or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of cards like that. So that's going to be that kind of theme. So I really liked her. I thought it was cool to potentially build a deck that literally just kills you by having a bunch of upkeeps. So it's not even really damage based off of like commander or creatures. It's just upkeep triggers are just going to kill you.
Yeah, which is a lot of
Which
fun.
I think is fun, and I think that's kind of a cool thing. I thought it was cool. And then her other version that they made a little while ago, the other Obeka, you tap her and target player may end their turn. So
Yep.
you can put things in there too. Like for example, like if I've drawn like 15 cards and I have 20 cards in my hand, I'm just gonna end my turn. I don't have to discard now.
That is actually not how that works. You do still have to do cleanup. When you end a turn, it goes to cleanup.
Okay.
So you still have to discard to hand size.
Gotcha. So
So
but
I do have that Obeka as a deck.
yeah,
And that is
Yeah,
something I
well,
learned
we've
because when
played
I
it.
built it, I thought it worked the way you said it did.
yeah.
And Andrew told me and showed me that is not how it works.
I think one of the cards that I'm excited about is Final Showdown. Now, with these cards, we can get excited about them until we really see them get played a lot. We don't really know.
Yeah,
if they're gonna
sometimes
be
things
good.
work better than you think they're going to. Sometimes they don't work as well.
Right.
right.
But Final Showdown is 1 white, has spree, so +1, all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. I do believe there's a lot of places where you're gonna just cast this for 2,
Yeah.
1 and a white, right? Because if you're getting attacked with a lot of stuff with different abilities, you turn all those abilities off. You probably saved
Yeah,
yourself.
because that is an
It's
instant.
like a mini fog, yeah. And then the next +1 is choose a creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn, right? And then the biggest one is +3 and 2 white. So now if you do all of them, it's 3 white and 5, so it's 8 mana. It's expensive, but you're destroying all creatures. They're losing indestructible. They're losing ward. They're losing all of that stuff. And you're destroying their creatures and saving one of yours.
Yeah, and you could just, if you
So-
wanted to, you could just do the first one to make them all lose abilities, and the last one just to kill everything.
You
know,
could.
because if you only have 1 or 2 creatures out, what do you care? You know, you could
100%. But this gives you choices.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about Spree. And Spree, for those that don't know, you pay the mana cost at the top, and then there are modes, and you pay for each of the modes that you want. Now, unlike some of the ones they've had before, you have to pay for even that first mode. So you can't just cast the spell for its casting cost, or it's not going to do anything.
Right.
You have to pay one of those additional costs.
That's right.
Right.
Unless you have cost reducers.
Which there are times where you may just cast it without paying anything else if you're trying to increase your storm count
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, and I do have a question. I wonder, do spell slinger reducers, things that reduce sorceries and
They
stuff,
do reduce that cost.
they do reduce the modal.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So the other thing you have to understand is that with these type of modal cards, you're typically gonna get a worse rate. So you're gonna pay more for having the flexibility. So like one like insatiable avarice. It's a 1 black sorcery with spree. The +2 is search your library for a card, then shuffle and put that card on top. So Vampiric Tutor will do that same thing for simply 1 black. So right, so you're paying a lot more. But what this also lets you do is +2 black. Target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. So the ability you get is to go get the card you want and draw it and some extra cards
Right.
for paying a little more. So
Right.
you have that modal part that lets you do it. And 3 seems like a lot more than 1, and it is, but you have to remember there's
but
only 1 card out there that does it for 1
Well, at instant speed.
at instant speed. So it's not terrible.
No, and the thing is that one card is expensive and is rare for a reason.
Right.
It's not meant to be, something that you can do multiple. But this is another way to do the same effect. You're not going to get it as cheap. It's not the best at what it does, but it does it, and it does it well.
But you
Right.
got to look at these spree cards, and you've got to make sure that in your curve and within the thing that they're going to work right in your deck. So just play around with them, try them out. Those are the ones I'm most excited about, though, are the spree ones.
Yeah, I will say too, like there was a couple of creatures that kind of came out of this that I thought were kind of cool. So Claim Jumper is a 2 and a white. It's a rabbit mercenary vigilance. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plains card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then, if an opponent controls more lands than you, repeat the process once. So you could essentially get 2 lands off of casting a 3-cost creature. So you get the 2 mana back. Now
And what
it comes
type?
in
What
tapped.
creature type is it?
It's a rabbit mercenary. It's a 3/3 rabbit mercenary with vigilance.
Is that a common, uncommon, rare?
This shows it as a rare. So I think like even little cards like this that they made that were pretty cool. The saddle up one, that's the one a lot of people are talking about when it dropped, was Archmage's Newt. It's 1 and a blue. Whenever Archmage's Newt deals combat damage to a player, target insert a sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to the mana cost. That card gains flashback 0 until end of turn. Instead, if Archmage's Newt is saddled, and saddles 3. So this is a card, for example, that, and again, this is a rare. This card is one that I'd put in my Calmax deck because I need Calmax to be tapped. And Calmax is a 4 power. He's a 4/4. So I tap him, saddle this. So now my Calmax is tapped. I get to copy my first instance I cast each turn. Then I attack with this guy. Now I get a free flashback spell as long as he hits and deals damage. Now he is a 2/2, so he's squishy. So kind of easy to kill. But again, a pretty cool mechanic where him attacking by himself does something, but then if he's saddled, he does something even a little bit better. So that was a saddle mechanic. They had a couple other cool cards that came out. Double Down, whenever you cast an outlaw spell, copy it. Copy that spell. So anytime you cast an outlaw, it's an enchantment. So I kind of just went through. There's a lot of different things I found and I thought was cool. The one that I found that was the weirdest was Caustic Bronco. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's 1 in the black.
I did not see
It's
that.
a snake horse mount.
Well, of course, because what else would it be?
Right, yeah. I mean, it's so it does whenever it attacks, reveal a top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's mana value. If Caustic Bronco isn't saddled, otherwise each opponent loses that much life. So if you saddle him for 3, again he's a 2/2, so easy to block and kill. But you saddle him for 3, you reveal a top card. Everyone's gonna lose that much life as long as you saddle. I don't.
We're gonna have to see how saddle works out because, unlike with vehicles, it's out there.
It's
and
already a creature.
It can be
It's
just
a creature, right? And
right. It can be
destroyed.
board wiped, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
the nice thing about the vehicle mechanic is, like they board wipe, and that still stays there most of the time.
Right. If it's a creature board
So,
wipe, right.
I'm just gonna reserve my judgment on this saddled mechanic and
Well,
just see how it plays
I'm sure
out.
Sloan will use it, and then you can tell us how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is
We'll
with it. I
see.
think it's because the one downside about the vehicle mechanic is the fact that once that turns over, they're no longer a vehicle. So the upside is it won't die to board wipes. The downside is if you don't have anything to tap into it, it's just sitting there. It's a useless artifact that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you got to
So-
build around it, but I'd say you have to build
Well,
around
Right,
some of
saddle,
them, some of
too.
them, it's great. Imposter mech. I don't-
Yes, some are okay. Some still do things. I think there's another one that it still taps for mana even if it's not crewed. But
So-
for the most part, they don't do anything if they're not crewed. And so that's kind of the advantage of these is yes, it's still a creature, but it's also still a blocker that you don't have to worry about paying into to make it a blocker. It's
And
still
think
there.
I think they fell into a nice balance where like some of these cards I'm trying to decide, are these better than the current cards I have? So like on some of these instants, single target removals, board wipes, things like that, I have to actually put thought into, is this an upgrade? And I think that's a nice spot to be at if you're not just we've talked about it before where there's this power creep. If there's power creep here, it's real small. And I think that's really good. And I
Right.
think that's probably good for Magic.
So the other thing I really liked about this set is it had some really good reprints. Now most of these were
Mhm.
in the showcase where
Special slots.
special standard legal. So again, I feel like they're made for us modern and commander players.
Mm-hmm.
So things like mana drain,
Yeah.
mind break trap, imp's mischief, terror of the peaks.
Which the mind break trap,
Yep.
that's expensive, but mostly because it wasn't reprinted, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's also mainly CEDH. card.
Yeah. It's not so great in Commander, really.
Yeah, because you get to cast it for free if somebody casts 3 or more spells.
But this is one of those cards I would buy and put in a deck just because I don't own it.
right.
Right.
But I thought like the reprints were great. A lot of this stuff hadn't been seen in a while, and Mana Drain, from what I have seen, it was printed pretty liberally, and the price I think is down to $20 right now, and I think it's gonna go down even more.
By the way, folks, that's the other thing. Pay attention to those things because if you can get Mana Drain right now for $20, when I leave this, I'm gonna go buy a couple.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic,
Yeah.
and it's a
Yeah.
great card that just is dollar restrictive, right? It's you can't get it cheap, so many players never get to play with it. This is
Right.
a chance to get it a little cheaper. I do think it'll drop even lower, but if you're not willing to take that risk, definitely grab it now. But I've seen it pulled pretty liberally. I only got one box. I got one. I know 2 other people only got one box. They got one.
That's pretty cool.
Both of them actually got mind break check as well. I did not.
Yeah. Be better.
Yeah, well, you know,
I'll get
try.
you a card.
But so I thought the reprints were a real great part of this. I just like the set. I think it would be fun to play draft. I think it would be fun for standard. I don't play standard, but if I did, I think it would add something. And it had a lot of cards that I'm going to use in Commander.
I would imagine Spree's probably pretty good in standard, but I don't know.
I think because it's modal, it is. I
Yeah.
think because of the versatility of it, I think it's going to be a really good card for.
But
the
we're
modern,
I guess
but
we'll
we don't
find
play
out.
modern,
We'll see
so-
what happens out there.
Yeah, I do want to say because looking through all the cards that release, I didn't realize this. They snuck some ninjas in there apparently.
Oh yeah, no, there were ninjas.
So this is the one
That's
ninja
how
that I
ninjas
found.
get into anything.
That's true. They
Nobody
sneak in.
sees them coming.
Yeah.
That's right. So this is a snake ninja rogue because
Yeah, why not?
why not? It's 5 in a black. It's a 5/4. Its ninjutsu is 3 in a black though. Here's the one I like. Here's the part I like about it though. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and manifest a top card of that player's library.
I love that it's a rogue too, because that
But
will go in
either
my
one
rogue
of
deck.
those I would take, and you're getting both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you hit three different opponents. You get to do it 3 times. As long as one creature's getting through. Fun thing about ninjas, a lot of times they get through.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you know,
Ninjas get the
Johnny,
job
but
done.
there are now ninja commanders that aren't completely broken and stupid. Just in case you want to
Now Yuriko for life,
change anything there.
partner.
So is
No
this
way.
going in there now?
This one might have to go in there. I might have to sneak. It's a rare, but I might have to sneak this one in there because there's a couple of ninjas I could change out that aren't as good, but because when I built my ninja deck like 4-ish years ago, I want to say now maybe 5-ish, there wasn't as many options because it was before they did Kiwagama or Kawagami.
Kawagama.
Say it wrong
Kawagama.
twice,
Words
that's
are
fine.
hard.
Yeah.
Listen, partner, it's my Western accent.
Just double down on it.
double down, just like I do in poker. But yeah,
Oh
it's
my god.
dude,
I
I love
wanna-
westerns. I can't help it. They're great. But yeah, I think overall, good set. I don't think it was mind-blowingly good. Like apparently these leaks are that we saw the other day.
Yep.
Like it's not that caliber. But definitely good, better than the more recent sets. I'm really excited about it. I'm kind of pumped to see these new decks
Well, and
that
to
we're
be fair,
building and see what
Caverns
happens.
of Ixalan, I feel like was another standard set that was good.
Yeah, Lost
But
Caverns of
standard
Ixalan.
sets for us tend to be a little
On the
lower
lower,
power
yeah.
level, little lower excitement.
The value again. I think it's a lot like Ixalan. The value's probably not there, but the cards are fun.
I think
Yeah.
the value is 100% there. You're pulling Mana Drain, Mind Break Trap.
Again, not everybody's
Terror of
gonna
the
do
Peaks.
that though, Duncan. If you
I'm
don't
just saying.
pull those,
I'm just saying,
Hey.
I've seen a lot of them.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Exactly. Again, we've talked about it before. You don't pull
it's just
expecting to get it. I'm just saying the possibilities there.
it's just
The
recency.
value is there.
It's recency bias
whether you
for
get
you
it or
because
not.
that's what you've seen. You
Yeah.
happen to see people pull somewhere. I imagine they're not that easy to pull, but we'll find out.
Well,
Typically, they will release. They'll release some stats on how easy those cards were to pull eventually, if people care about that.
yeah, I don't think they do a good enough job of that, but they do. We do
It-
get unofficial stats,
Yes,
I think.
correct.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk about. So we made some predictions about what we would see in there.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I
we
think
did.
And there's
Johnny
only
really killed
one
it.
of us that really killed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Sloan.
Get on my level. All right, so I did two things. One, I said there would be a card, something like High Noon, and I think there's an actual card,
High Noon.
that came out. So I was pretty proud of myself for getting
That
that
was a
one.
good hit.
Dead on. I was like, they got to do something with that because it's too iconic not to do it. But the other thing was I talked about Plane Chase. I'll let Duncan look up the High Noon card while I talk about the Plane Chase.
Which
So I
that was a heck of a call.
Right. So I said I thought it'd be pretty cool if they did something kind of with planes where you get to, have some kind of interaction because you're out west. I think that'd be a cool idea. So it wasn't exactly plane chase, but they're called bounties. So they came in the precons. So if you bought any of the precons, you got, I think, 3 of them or 4 of them.
Do you have them? Did you get
Yeah,
any?
I got some.
Okay.
Yeah, he got some. So they do different things and basically they upgrade. And so the longer the bounty stays out, the better the value gets of it. So
Yeah.
there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And then wherever you claim it at is what you end up getting the reward for. So just to kind of give you an idea, like one of the bounties, Vera Beth Hanader, at the beginning of your end step, if the nearest opponent to your right as the turn began was dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. So then you get the bounty.
And I think
for
the
it.
bounties stay the same. I think the rewards stay the same.
Right, the rewards stay the same. So the rewards are going to be, if I remember correctly, tier 1, create a treasure token.
Yeah.
Level 2, create 2 treasure tokens.
Level 3, draw a card and create 2
Create 2 treasure
right?
tokens or draw a card. And then level 4, create 2 treasure tokens and draw a card.
Yeah.
So
Now, can anybody claim those, or only the person who played it?
no,
anyone.
anybody can play them, just like
So-
kind of
so-
like
so you-
planes. So they're in
It's
the middle.
going to be a waiting game. Is somebody going to, like, it's going to be a game of,
Am I gonna
I
wait?
want to wait till it gets to level 3, but is anybody else going to wait? They're going to want
Right.
to snag it before I
Yeah,
do.
and the way it levels up is each turn. So not each turn around the table, but each individual person's turn, I believe, is how it levels
Yeah,
up.
so when you put it out, you're like, I could grab it now, but if I can try and stop them from grabbing it, maybe I can grab it next turn for 2.
It's pretty good. I mean, like if I do make it down to the shop tonight, I would love to play that.
So
Right.
so that's one thing he got right.
Right.
Bounties.
So I got the bounties right. I
That's
talked
like
about
But
three
that
things.
wasn't all he got right.
No,
yeah,
it
he
wasn't.
got a bunch of things right.
So the card High Noon.
Yep. So
I
that's
s-
2.
I
That's
said
2.
they would do that, and then what was the last one? I can't remember. I get so many things right. It's
I
hard to
thought
keep
that
track.
was it. But
Unbelievable.
so I said, though, the only thing I kind of got right, I said they would do something with dueling. They did it with the card names. They didn't
Yeah.
do it with the mechanic. They did. So there's High Noon, there's Final Showdown.
Yeah.
There's that thematic dueling named cards. So I get a half point, I feel like, for that.
Yeah.
They did something about dueling.
So I win, and Jeff and Duncan said they're gonna buy me all the things tonight at the shop.
Yeah.
for
All
winning.
the things you can buy for $1. You get them all.
Bet, take it.
So I will say the things that I wish we had gotten right. There was no pistols. There's
Yeah.
a lightning gun. It's not a gun. And there was no 10-gallon hat or any type of cowboy hat. Like, I feel like that was a fail.
And I do think part of that is because this is a standard set, right? So they're not as
It could, but
right. But again, it's technically not supposed to be for us, Duncan. Not everything for
well,
Commander.
no, but I'm saying,
well, you could have a 10-gallon hat that works. in
But I
standard.
think the whole reason why is because it's just not, there's not, I don't, from my understanding, there's not a whole lot of artifact equipment based decks in
well, the other thing is, this is now,
it's hard to
a ru-
understand
this
why
is-
a hat would do something.
this
for
is
you,
a
though.
plane now that exists. They can
Yeah.
come back to this.
It's
They
true.
can build another set, and maybe they're saving some things back for that.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
Also, putting on a hat isn't necessarily all that exciting. Like it'd have to be
But it
some
could,
sort of
but
like techno hat
Partner,
or
it
something.
ain't just a hat. It's a 10-gallon hat.
or a cowboy hat.
Well, yeehaw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeehaw up in here. Buck
If
and
you're
Broncos.
gonna do it, do it. You know
I
what I'm
will
saying?
say there was
They
one
did
card.
they did have boots though. They had a bunch of boots, didn't they?
Yeah,
not?
there
Yeah,
was, and there's some that are kind of like lightning.
There's
boots.
actually a commander, 5 boots. What's his face? The legendary
and
creature that came
he's,
out that ooze 5 boots, and he has 5 boots. And
Yeah.
someone's like, dude, you can give him lightning greaves, you can give him swift foot boots, you can get, and so he would actually have all 5 boots you can have equipped to him.
Yeah.
So
Probably
people
not a
were
good
making-
idea, but
people
you
were
could
making
do it.
jokes about stuff like that, because I believe there's actually 5 cards that have boots in their name. They're not just the depiction.
Oh,
of
there's
shoes.
there's more Trailblazer
for-
boots. There's tons of them.
Right,
Yeah.
that was one of the boots you put on him. So, but yeah, that I think, I just think thematically for a standard set, they're probably not going to go as heavy into the equipment. But yeah, maybe like you said, maybe they'll come back and they'll do a commander set out there for us, and we'll get a lot of those fun.
Or even if they don't, they'll do
commander
another
stuff.
standard set. We got the sword this time. Maybe next time we'll get a cool hat or a pistol.
Yeah, maybe that'd be cool.
But so that's how we felt about it. Then Sloan nailed a couple things. I came close to hitting one. So we're getting there.
Yeah, you were in the park. I was playing. Jeff's out in the parking lot, still trying to find a spot. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Yep. So we're gonna move on. Sloan, you got any pro tips today for beginners?
Yeah, I do. So we're gonna jump back to the segment that I kind of started inside this, the learning the lingo segment. So the big thing with this is there's another set of lingo that people use that is kind of thrown around, and again, you kind of just nod because you assume okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So Jeff alluded to one earlier, but these are going to be deck building styles, like the names of deck types,
Yeah.
and kind of why they're named that. So I got 5 deck types here. I'm sure you guys will be able to nail them all. So I'm just going to list them off real quick, and then we'll kind of read what their official kind of quote unquote description is. So you have an aggro deck, you have aristocrat, you have tribal, you have super friends, and you have Voltron. So those are 5 deck styles that you can build into, and they each kind of have their own theme. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean they can't overlap.
Well,
But-
and there's a lot more than that.
Right, there's
like 100 different
there's
deck
tons of
types.
different,
Yeah.
but these are just 5 styles that I thought of that are pretty common or you hear a lot said and used. And these can overlap, so it's not like, hey, these are just, it can only be an aggro deck. That's not how this works.
So real quick, why don't you tell us what those mean?
So yeah, so for aggro, we'll go with first. Let me go here and pull up my definition because I want to make sure I read it right. So an aggro deck attempts to reduce their opponent's life points to 0 as quickly as possible, rather than emphasizing a long-term game. A lot of times that's done through the idea of, I'm going to put out a lot of creatures, I'm going to swing at you, and I'm just going to start nailing you down with just 4 4s, 2 2s, 3, and just
Yeah,
hit
low,
me crazy.
low curve,
Low
hasty
curve,
creatures.
get
And
them out
you'll
there
see a lot of
quick.
themes like haste or
Right.
1/1 counters among that.
Yeah, and to kind of give you an idea of some commanders that are more aggro based, Finn the Fangbearer, very low cost commander himself, 1 and a green. You get him out there. Creatures you control have poison. They do poison counters if they have death touch. Another one that's more of the CEDH style is Winota, Joiner of the Forces. Again, she wants to swing, and then she puts out creatures based off of how many creatures you attacked
Okay.
with.
Well, that's a couple of those.
Yep.
For
and
time's
then,
sake, why don't we move on to the next play style? I think we've given a good idea of what that one's like.
so
So aggro, we've given you some examples of commanders, some examples of play styles.
and then we're gonna go with the aristocrat. So aristocrat is going to be based off of the sacrificing mechanic in the game.
Yeah, what you'd
Um,
like to do with your politicians.
Yeah.
None in particular, so don't come
yeah.
chase me, FBI.
So it's a kind of MTG strategy that is designed around sacrificing your own creatures for profit. So this is, and it's specifically named that because the 2 cards that mainly did it had aristocrat in their name, and that's kind of where the idea came from. But this is going to be your Tessa Karlov. She doubles those. Marin of Clan Neltooth, Yagmoth, Thrawn Physician. Those are all people that give you direct benefits for taking your creatures and sacking
Now,
them.
to be clear though, like Edgar Markov is a commander that can be used for either aggro or aristocrat.
Correct.
Depends how you build it.
Yeah, and that's and
Or you
again
could
that's kind of
do
the,
a little of both.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of the looseness, and that's why I said that these are very overlapping. You can do multiple in one deck, but generally speaking, this is the theme of the decks and what they do.
Right.
So next one being tribal, a deck archetype that focuses the deck around creatures or particular creature type. So this is a theme that pretty much everyone almost always kind of falls into and builds into. The most notorious one is Slivers. So Sliver Overlord is one. The Dragon, Jeff's deck, his dragon deck is held by the Dragon. The one I built recently, Commander Mustard. Those are all decks that have the
They're also
explicit
called
purpose
they're also called Kindred now. So some people have
Right.
started calling them Kindred
Or
decks.
typal.
or
Yeah.
typal decks. Yeah. So, they focus on different things. Dragon, obviously dragons.
Yep.
Commander Mustard is going to be soldiers, and the Sliver Lord obviously is going to be slivers. So that's your tribal style.
Typal. They have outlawed that term.
I
I'm just
don't care.
saying.
I don't.
You're not going to see it
I don't abide.
officially printed
Oh,
anymore.
really? That
Yeah.
needs to be a segment. That's interesting.
I don't
did
abide
not
by
know
the
that.
Yeah,
people's
they're,
rules.
they're not going to refer to it as tribal anymore.
That's
So that's
so
why they're
silly.
using the word Kindred now.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
tried
Okay.
typal and people did not like that.
Typal
They-
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one's Super Friends. So Jeff has an attractive deck that does that, which is one of the commanders I listed here. But it aims to win through a critical mass of Planeswalkers' powers using a pile of Walker abilities to turn after turn to eventually bury their opponents in value. So,
Or just super.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So-
but again, that's value from that. So
But
you have
planeswalkers. what you got?
Atraxa, Sisay, Eska, God of the Tree, because she does based off legendary stuff, and then Commandeer Guff, who's an actual planeswalker himself that you can make your commander. And
Yep.
he
And
does stuff for
again,
that.
there's more of all of these.
Right, but these are just kind of ideas and examples of what you're going to run into and what you see. And then last but not least is Voltron, which is a deck archetype with the goal of casting one creature, then using other cards such as auras and equipments to enhance that creature and making it a true threat to your opponent. So kind of the one shot and done, as it were. So you have Light Paul's Emperor's Voice, Lathril, Blade of the Elves. You have Narset, Enlightened Master, or Bruna, Light of Alabaster. So those are different kinds of commanders for Voltron-esque. They have abilities that kind of enhance the Voltron-ness of them, but also they're very heavily focused around even not just themselves, but any creature.
We're going Play-Doh here with Voltron-ness.
Yeah, I think we can tell which style is Sloan's favorite. But
Yeah.
but the other thing is maybe they don't have an ability that does Voltron well, but they have an ability you want to abuse with Voltron, right?
Right, exactly. You know,
so-
something with being able to get value out of drawing if you deal damage or something. Like, for example, Obeka Splitter of Seconds, you want to kind of Voltron her because the more damage she does, the more upkeep you get.
Right.
So something kind of like that where it's not.
I do feel a little
distinctly-
targeted that you left out my entire playstyle of Control, but I guess you'll talk about that. another
Yeah,
time.
I only wanted to pick 5 because I don't want to take too long. But those are 5 commonly named deck types that you're going to come across, and you're going to hear probably at your table. Hey, this is an aristocrat style deck. This is a Voltron deck.
Also,
so
you can just hit EDH Rec and go there and look at all the different themes.
Yep, you can
They
look
actually
at
have a
things by
theme
theme.
section. You can go through there and see all the themes. And what's fun to do sometimes is just go all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Be like, what kind of theme is no one playing?
Yeah.
And be like, well, can I do
Snow.
something with this? Yeah. I am building a snow deck.
There's
We're
no
gonna
one
get
playing
there.
snow.
What?
There's no one playing snow.
Yeah. Well, there will be someone playing snow.
no, you're
I
still no
guess.
one.
But so
Ouch.
thanks for listening today. We really appreciate it. We went through a lot today. We added that part about the leaks and that kind of added, but I thought it was important. I thought it was cool. I thought it was topical, so I wanted to add that. We want to thank, as always, Jack May at Info Pilgrims for producing and editing this for us.
Yes, sir.
Much props there.
Thank you, partner.
You can email us at cast@commanderspod.com if you want to tell us a story that we want us to use for Tales from the Table, ask us a question. Our Patreon will be live by the time you listen to this, so feel free to check us out there. The tiers will be up by then, but we do know every member will get Discord, and we'll have some better stuff than that, but that's just the one that everybody will get. And remember, everybody, kill Andrew first.
Yes, sir.
I'm your Huckleberry.